Hi, my name is Givelle Lamano, and I'm the principal attorney at Lamano Law Office. Thank you for watching this video. The purpose and goal of this video is to instruct you on what you need to do to avoid domestic violence or domestic battery charges. Domestic violence is one of the most common types of arrest that happens between a couple and the fights that they get into behind closed doors. Oftentimes it happens because somebody made a phone call to the police, whether it's a neighbor, the alleged victim, the alleged aggressor. Somebody contacted the police that caused the police to come to your home, knock on your door, and find out what happened behind closed doors. Now, it's really important to understand that in many domestic violence cases, people contact me and they say, but my wife or my husband doesn't want to file charges against me. It's really important that you understand that while they do have a say in what happens in your case, they are not the ultimate one who decides whether or not charges are filed against you. Whenever you go to criminal court, it's always the people of state of California versus the defendant, and that defendant is the person who normally gets arrested in a domestic violence case. Normally, the person that makes the phone call to the police, who is represented by the state of California, are the ones that are considered to be the victims. And the person who gets arrested is generally called the aggressor. Now, I just want to make sure that you know that it's not the alleged victim that decides whether or not charges are filed against you. It's the district attorney's office. And the district attorney's office represents the state of California and protecting their safety and their interest. At the end of the day, we need to find out more information about what happened in your case particularly to determine whether or not you can actually get the charges dismissed. For example, who made the phone call to the police? Was it your wife? Was it your husband? Were it neighbors? And more importantly, have calls been made to the police in the past? Because if there's a pattern of domestic violence and a record of it because neighbors and other people have called the police, charges are more likely to be filed. Speaking of charges, there are different levels of domestic violence situation. A misdemeanor is the middle level and a felony is the higher level. For a Penal Code 273.5, it can be charged as a felony or a misdemeanor. That is known as a wobbler crime. In other words, a crime can wobble down to a misdemeanor or wobble up to a felony, okay? The lighter version of a Penal Code 273.5 is what's known as a Penal Code 243E1. This is generally domestic violence, but a lighter version where the district attorney doesn't necessarily have to prove injury in this case. For the lighter version, it's generally charged as a misdemeanor and not as a felony. That's important for you to know because from the date of the incident, the district attorney has up to 1 year to file misdemeanor charges and up to 3 years to file felony charges, which really sucks because if you get arrested and you're waiting for your court date, you have to wait around to see when the district attorney's office files charges, if they even do. Again, there are many things to take into consideration. For example, number one, when the police arrived, did they separate the two parties? Did they take the wife into the kitchen and the husband into the living room and get two separate statements? Did those statements make sense? Did they match each other? Was there an accident involved? Was there alcohol? Were there drugs involved? Was it actually an accident or maybe even self-defense? Did the police officers take pictures of the aggressor's hands to show marks of aggression? Did the police take pictures of the alleged victim and any bruises or any swelling, any redness? Was their hair pulled? Were there scratches? And even more importantly, were there children involved? Because if there were children involved and children witness this might be child endangerment. There are a lot of things to take into consideration in a domestic violence case, but the best thing that you can do is educate yourself on whether or not you have a case worth fighting and whether or not you can get the charges dismissed. Depending on whether or not charges are a misdemeanor or a felony, there are a lot of penalties involved. And the most common one is what's known as 52 weeks of domestic violence classes. That generally attaches to domestic violence and domestic battery charges. That means every week for 1 year, you have to go to a class on why you shouldn't beat your spouse. Another thing to take into consideration is potentially doing anger management classes. And generally, they ask for 26 classes, depending on the circumstance. You also want to take into consider that you'll have a criminal record. And believe me, you don't want a criminal record that makes you look like an angry, aggressive person because no employer wants to handle or hire or deal with somebody who has a bad temperament. This is a crime of moral turpitude, which means your character is questionable because of your aggression and because of your anger, allegedly, that you imposed that day that this happened. Now, we all know that at the end of the day, the only two people that knows what go on in a relationship relationship or the two people that are in it. There's always different sides to the story, and nobody ever really understands everything. In order for you to get the best result, you need to work with an attorney who not only wants to get you the best result, but wants to fight for you and present you to the court in the most positive light. Let's say you did get into a fight with your spouse or your partner and something bad did happen. That doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means you had a bad day. And when you look at the totality of the circumstances and who you are as an individual, you probably are a productive member of society with many other traits and good things about you other than the one day that you got into a fight with your spouse or partner. Everybody gets into fights with their spouses and partners. It's just when the police and the district attorney gets involved that it becomes difficult. And that's why you need an attorney to walk you through the process and tell you what you need to do. Let us take care of the legal side